next week, we will have our eyes on the prize because you'll know and get a good feel about where these football teams are headed in 2021. That's why it's fascinating for me to talk about this and have a lot of fun and go over these numbers. Vikings and the Cardinals, Kyle. We talked about it Monday when we had our opening line show. What was more likely to happen, right? The line would be circulating around 3 or would go higher to 4. We're now starting to see 4s out here. And do you want to overcompensate and say, hey, man, Arizona's going to win the Super Bowl now? Did you see what they did to the Titans on Sunday? Loved their performance defensively, offensively. Everything worked well. The Titans were a mess, and they made sure that they stayed a mess in that football game. The Vikings, do we think they're as bad as what they showed with Cincinnati? Look, you can't go on the road and not show up in the first quarter and basically the first half of that football game. And then technically, they should have won that football game. Knocked through a field goal at the end of forced overtime. Got to stop. Dalvin Cook did not fumble. They said he fumbled. Bad call, but they end up losing that football game. Now you go into Arizona, and I know we talked multiple times this week, Kyle, in this one football game. It's not so much that I think Arizona is going to win. I picked them to win. I picked them to cover. But I'm looking at those sides to say, you need to have a running mate in this game. Arizona is going to run 100 miles an hour with that tiny quarterback over there, ripping it all over the football field to some dominant wide receivers and a great game plan. That means Minnesota is going to have to step up. You know what steps up, Kyle? How about Dalvin Cook? Bust through something. You can't have 60 yards in a game. Bust through this defense. 16 carries, 122 yards and a touchdown. You know what? Kirk Cousins, go deep a couple times. You're a stat compiler. You threw for over 300 yards last week. You should do it again this week. There is no conservative effort. Because let me tell you something here, Kyle. You go scoreless in the first quarter against Arizona this week, you're going to get blasted in this game. So we're looking at some of those numbers that we like, Kyle. Get the 22s, the 22.5, the 23s, the 23.5. Keep it under that 24 number, and Minnesota might be a decent play here.
Yeah, look, the problem for me is I can't take Kirk Cousins on the road against a winning team. I was willing to swallow it last week, and it let me down against a non-winning team. But Kirk Cousins' record against winning teams is well documented. He's one of the worst quarterbacks ever against a team with a 500 record or better. And I'm not even calling the Cardinals a winning team because they're 1-0. I mean, they were 8-8 last year and would have probably made the playoffs had it not been for that shoulder injury to Kyler Murray. Flip side, that Cardinals offense looked great. That Titans defense is terrible. The one disappointment is we thought the Vikings maybe had addressed some issues in the secondary, bringing in Breeland and Patrick Peterson. They looked slow to me. They didn't look lost. They looked like they knew where they were supposed to be, but they just couldn't keep up with the skill players of the Bengals. And you're not getting a break this week with Hopkins and Kirk and everyone else. I think the Cardinals score a lot of points, but on the flip side, I think the Vikings score as well. If I'm taking a side, I would take the Cardinals at home because I'll never take Kirk Cousins on the road against a winning team. It's just not going to happen. But for me, the play on this game is that total sitting at 51, and I think both teams can approach the 30s. I'll be surprised if the Cardinals don't get into the 30s the way that offense looked last week against, I mean, let's call it what it is, a bad Titans defense. Now, I don't think the Cardinals defense was as good as they looked last week. Obviously, you give up 5 sacks. That Titans offense to Chandler Jones, I don't know what the hell Arthur Smith is thinking. Maybe he's bringing over some of that great coaching from the Falcons. I mean, good Lord, how do you not at least chip the guy after you've given up 4 sacks in the first quarter? What the hell is going on here? The Titans looked really, really lethargic, but I do think the Vikings will find some holes in this defense. The Cardinals secondary is still suspect. They should still have some trouble stopping the run. I know adding J.J. Watt will help a little bit. But I think both teams score here. I think both teams' team total is live. When I think both team totals are live, we got Arizona at 27.5 and the Vikings at 28.5. Could I see this, or 23.5? Could I see a 28-24 game here and a push on the side and an over on the total? Absolutely. I like the over points here. I took the over 51 earlier in the week. We're seeing some 50.5s here. I think there's points scored here. This game's going to be a lot of fun. Going to see a lot of it on the Red Zone channel. Give me the over 51. If I'm picking a side, lean the Cardinals. Can't trust Kirk Cousins against winning teams.
Yeah, it seems like Minnesota's always in the mix because you like what they have, right? Cousins is a boomer bust guy, 2 really good wide receivers, an unbelievable running back, and then, you need some help from the other side, which Arizona should be able to provide.